Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. I've got a special one today. As you can see behind me, I've kind of altered my background a little bit to fit today's setting, as I'm getting to talk to one of the co-creators of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mr. Kevin Eastman. He's right here, actually. I'm going to go ahead and add him in here, and we're going to talk briefly about, the legacy of the Turtles, the new comic Last Ronin, the Last Ronin Lost Years, and we'll see what else happens. Let's see. 515. Connected to audio.
See, you broke it.
I broke. We fixed it.
Hey, how are you, man?
Hello, sir. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thanks. I was Boney. I'm writing the introduction to the Turtles, Batman Turtles crossover omnibus, all three issues. So
Awesome.
I'm running a little late on it, but hey, we're here. I'm here with you, hanging with you. It's like to be here. How's everything going?
It's going great. I appreciate you doing these press days for guys like us that like to pick your brain for a couple minutes to talk about all the the latest and greatest in the world of Kevin Eastman.
Well, always happy to join you guys and spread the goodwill and the good word because it's a lot of fun. So
Absolutely. I wish I would have had a hat fitting because I don't have a Turtles hat, but I've altered my background a little bit.
yeah, yes, yeah, I love it. No, I appreciate it. No, as you see with my space is at some point you run out of shelf space, and I do have to it gets to the point where to put something new up or something else out, you have to take something down. So
Yes, of course.
but I'm a big fan of all that stuff. So yeah.
But so I'll jump right in here because I know our time is very limited. So I just wanted to ask, it's was it 2023, so it's been 40 years now since the creation of the Turtles.
Yes, isn't
And
that
so how
crazy?
to you, like, knowing 40 years later that the Turtles are still as prominent, as popular as ever, and have become basically one of the most widely popular franchises in pop culture history. How does that feel, knowing 40 years later that it's still as people are still as crazy for it as ever?
Well, it's all your fault. So
Well,
no, and it really, in all sincerity, I mean, it really is. I often say, without hesitation, I have the greatest job ever because I have the greatest fans ever, and just that the fact that I got this morning and I was drawing and writing turtles, and when we're done chatting, I'm going to go back to some drawing and writing more turtles and just having the time of my life. So it was really the idea when you have that childhood dream or fantasy of want to following in the footsteps of your heroes like Jack Kirby and draw comics for a living, and then to not only actually be able to do it but also do it as long as I have with characters that I co-created. It's an incredible gift, and it's fascinating. Yeah, it's awesome.
yeah, absolutely. It's it started out in you're in Peter Laird's house, and it started with one little drawing, and from there it's history.
Yeah, and it was just sort of one of those, you hear about those, you got chocolate on my peanut butter kind of moments. Just one of those things that was just it only could have happened when it happened. It was just the right place, the right time, with a couple of goofballs that really were very passionate, and come, hell or high water, we're going to draw comics, for a living. If it wasn't Turtles, I'm sure we both would have still been in the business in some fashion. But it was just it started as a joke. It started as a spark, a bit of inspiration that we then built on that. And it just as easily, and it's something you can't not think about. It just as easily could have failed. But it was one of those
Absolutely.
right place, right time, and it landed just right. And the fact that it went beyond the comic book to accomplish some of those other things. I mean, we're gearing
Everything.
up for our, yeah, we're gearing up for our, our 2023 convention tour, and we've been, we've done 150 shows in the last 10 years or so all over the world, and it's amazing it's as popular as here, that we've been to other countries, and then it's still resonated with fans and audiences there, and that's even more crazy.
Yeah, and speaking of which, like, it's 2023, and we actually have a new movie coming out this year.
Yep.
Mutant Mayhem. Seth Rogen is producing, or something I'm not sure the whole story there. I just know that there's a new movie coming out this year, and it's animated.
Yeah, I don't have, I sold my rights many years
That's
ago,
right.
but
That's
many
right.
years ago. But no, I could not be more thrilled that they bring me in for um, uh, different turtle things. I was really excited going back to the comics. That was really the heart and soul. That was, the most important thing to me. As I said earlier, that was a childhood dream. So when IDW got the rights, and I've been, working with them for the last 140 issues plus last Ronin and other things. So that's really sort of home base, and the best place. But Nickelodeon's invited me to be part of, consult on and work on the animated TV series, which I really, really, really loved, and different parts. And then there's other moments like, when Seth, who's a great, very, very, very talented producer and actor and creative guy, want to do the series. They can either bring me in as if they choose to, if they have their own vision, that's up to them. And I'm excited to see what he had in mind, because that's sort of, it's funny to think like, somebody, and we've done it many times in the past, and I think of, Kevin Monroe with the 2007 Turtle movie, or other people that have, Steve Barron, the very first Turtle movie as director, and brought in Jim Henson and stuff. So it's really, you got to let it go and let the person that's in the creative driving seat,
Kind of take the reins and
yeah. And
see
so
what's.
I'm excited to see what he does.
I'm also interested. My buddy, I was telling my buddy about this, and he was asking me this. He said, if you can ask him, so say you have complete creative control over a movie, like characters, story, whoever plays the turtles characters, what would you personally like to see that maybe hasn't been done already, or like what would you want to see as complete control over the movie?
Well, to me, when you go back to the very first Turtle movie, the one in 1990, when you had an incredible director, visualist like Steve Barron, Todd Langdon, who wrote it, adapted it faithfully and awesomely from the original comic books, but then brought his own heart and soul to it. And then, of course, Jim Henson, making everything work with the costumes. But then, Judith Hogue is April, and Elias Koteas is Casey. There were just so many elements that had to almost not had to almost they actually had to line up perfectly to make that movie work the way that it worked. And so I would lean heavily in that direction. In fact, they brought me in to consult on some of the new Turtles live action movies, and they said you really should take it back to the place, the space, and the heart and soul that was done with the first Turtle movie. Don't make him 7 feet tall, and don't make him bulletproof. But
Right.
they had their own ideas. So I would go in that direction. I would update it with a bit more martial arts. When you see the level of abilities that you put on the screen now, certainly Matrix quality, martial arts sequences. I'd make it a bit more epic, a bit more bigger, but I would keep it
Still,
grounded,
still
urban.
kind of grounded, yeah, for like
Yeah,
uh yeah, nostalgic purposes for the ones that love the original turtles.
yeah, like much like I thought that Daredevil TV series, the Charlie Cox Daredevil Marvel TV series, was perfect. I would definitely take it into that neighborhood. So
That would definitely be interesting. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so you were talking about wanting to take it to like an original place. Like I feel like that's what I didn't read, like I read like a synopsis of the new movie, and I guess it's supposed to be kind of like a back to like back to the origins. Like I'm not 100%, but I feel
I
like
know a lot of some, me either, and I've not seen, I'm not really, I don't surf much or read much, but online as far as that kind of stuff goes, and they really haven't sent me anything. So it's actually kind of cooler that when the movie comes out, I'm gonna go see it in the theater and be excited, to see, just be. It's almost like you go in with a blank slate and see
blue.
what they're gonna do. So I'm excited, but I don't have any plot information or what they're doing, but I'm excited to. But I know I've been told it's definitely geared towards a younger audience, which is
Yeah,
cool.
I think they just somebody leaked a picture of the toys
Oh, cool.
recently, and the turtles, they look like a mix of like TMNT mixed with like the 2012 kind of.
Cool.
So I'm interested to see how it goes.
Yeah. No, I like, and looking forward, beyond that, I had mentioned, with the all the fun that we've had with Last Ronin, and there's been a couple. I've seen a couple of animation tests people have sent me. Yay! I would love to see, when Nickelodeon teamed up with Warner Brothers and they did the Turtles Batman crossover as an animated movie. I thought that was really well done, and it was definitely aimed towards that older audience. Some of the more the original audience had a bit more edge to it and grit and to it. So I always thought if they, if you're going to do anything else in this animated space, that was for an older audience, not taking nothing away from what Seth's doing for a younger audience, but it'd be to service the older audience with a animated Last Ronin would be pretty epically cool.
Absolutely. That's what I'm hoping for, a Last Ronin movie, because that's what I kind of, in my, I'm 31 years old, and I've kind of gone, like, I grew up watching the Turtles because my brothers watched them. They had the toys. And then now, like, I have kids of my own. My daughter is obsessed with the Turtles. Her favorite's Raphael. And it's just funny because I say this to her all the time. I said, yeah, you would be Raphael. You have the most, attitude. And it's funny because I told her, because she's 4, she's not, she doesn't understand, like, I'm talking to the creator of this thing. I said, I'm talking to the, one of the creators of the Turtles. And she goes, Splinter?
No, I love it. It was, it just brings back so many fond memories of, even when I was when our son was younger, because I was, I'd always be home drawing, and he would see, what I was drawing, and he'd see the turtles on my desk, and he'd see the turtles on the TV, and it would just, you could see he couldn't quite figure out how that happened. And even when you said, well, I draw them, and then and it just sort of like la la la, but when he got older and sort of understood, because even he went through that stage where he wasn't sure if I had a real job, because other cause kids' parents would leave the house in the morning. They would go they'd go to work. And my dad doesn't go to work. He just stays in his sweats and draws cartoons all day. And
The best job.
the best job ever. No, but it's great. But it's a fun that when you see that light bulb finally go off and go like, oh, yeah.
Briefly, I just wanted to touch on, I picked this up from my comic book store. It was one of the retailer
Great.
exclusive covers for the Lost Years, and
Yep.
I'm definitely very excited for this. Like, I love how it's a prequel, but also a sequel to The Last Ronin. Like, can you tell me just a little bit of, like, the background on, like, the new Turtles, and where, not too much, but, like, where is it going?
Sure. Well, what was fun about the as Tom Waltz and I built out the what we call the Ronin verse, based on what Peter and I originally kind of had envisioned back in 1987, and we adapted and expanded and built it into the Ronin verse. As we were going through what pieces we wanted in on the Last Ronin stories, there were lots of pieces that were left out, and we often thought, like, well, it'd be great to go back to that space or that space and dig around a little bit more and tell another story set in that world. And so when the Last Ronin had the success that it had, became a serious conversation. Well, let's go back to some of those places, and one of our favorites was the prequel aspect that you mentioned, which is between issue 4 and 5 of Last Ronin, when Michelangelo goes to Japan, finds out what happened there, and then that kicks off his journey, which is a 16-year journey, which takes it back to page 1 of issue 1 of Last Ronin in the first series. And so that was earmarked as first. Let's go back there and show what that journey consisted of and what made him, from what we all know about the lovable, more laid-back Michelangelo character, into the character that he needed to be to complete the mission we set up for him in Last Ronin. And so at the same time, the sequel part, so that's kind of like a prequel, but then the sequel part is we introduce 4 new turtles at the end of Last Ronin issue 5, the final page. And so we're going to show their evolution. And the way we set up Last Ronin Lost Years is each issue takes place 3 years apart. So each issue will be on Michelangelo's journey. It's every 3, you pick up what happened to him, every 3 years, where he is at that place in time. At the same time, what the growth is of the new turtles as we introduce you to them every 3 years. So it's ages 3, 6, 9. So by by issue 5, they'll be basically 15 years old, which is
Teenagers.
teenagers. So, yeah, and that'll lead directly into Last Ronin 2. So,
Very nice. So there is a continuation planned.
yep. Yes.
It is like a complete Last Ronin universe then, which is very
Yep.
exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, no, we're excited because that was, because it is, even when by the time you get to Last Ronin 2, it's also going to be basically 15 years since Last Ronin
Ended.
ended. And so the world has changed, what's going on, what the things that these new characters are going to have to face and deal with in that universe is we've got some really exciting ideas. So we're pretty pumped. So
Yeah, one last question. So
yeah.
there's been a lot of crossovers, like with the comics, video games, like from Batman to the Power Rangers to apparently there's going to be a Street Fighter crossover. Out of all of
Mhm.
those crossovers, what has been like your most favorite to like see come to light?
Um, you know, they're all really uniquely fun in their own way, and not to, it's hard to pick one or the other. I really love the Turtles Ghostbuster crossover. That's some really fun elements into it, and the Turtles Power Rangers, of course. But for me personally, I was a Batman kid when I was growing up, so that was, I like the heroes that were a bit more
Dark.
street level, grounded. Really, do you feel like, you know given enough money, but with even without the money, you could train yourself as a detective and get in the kind of shape, and you could be a guy like Batman. So it seemed obtainable, if you will.
Yeah.
But I like that darkness, the edge, the kind of the gritty detective sort of crime drama
Kind of
stuff.
like how Turtles originally started. They were
Yeah.
extremely dark, and then evolved into the lovable turtles. They still maintained a level of darkness, like because I mean, you can tell it in the movies, the shows, but it's still lovable. But like you read the first issue of the comics, just like these aren't the turtles that I knew. Like if you're new to the comics,
Yeah, that was, and that was it was very specific evolution in that we wrote all those early issues for Peter and I. We the audience was us. We were writing the books for ourselves. And so when, we had that opportunity, by the time we got up around issues 7 or 8 or something like that, that's around the time that the opportunity to explore it as a kid's concept, as a cartoon and toys. So we were able to control it in that we said yes to what we wanted to say yes to and no what we didn't, and things like changing the colors of the bandanas. That was an idea that Pete had, which was great because you could tell them apart more easily on the screen. But we knew it was going to be much lighter and much, wasn't written for us. It was now written for a 6, 7 year old youngster. So it was great, and it was one of those the same approach to that cartoon series as we had for the first. Is it going to work? It's up to you guys. And so it was really one of those, we didn't know. It was a Hail Mary, but it was just sort of like we did the best job we could. And you just kind of go, okay, it's not up to us now. It's up to you guys. If we did our job good, it'll work. If we didn't, then well, there you go.
and here you are, 40 years later. It's the work of
Yeah.
art. What can we say?
Well, it's the greatest gift. And that's, like I said, I have
And it
the
keeps
greatest
giving.
job. I got the greatest fans, so.
But Kevin, I appreciate your time. I don't want to take up any more because I know you have plenty more of these to do.
Yep. Got a
And
bunch more press stuff, but yeah, I'm going to go back to drawing. But it's
I just want to say I'm excited for the continuation of the Lost Years and to see where the Last Ronin 2 goes from here.
you're gonna dig it. Some really good stuff. Some really good ideas, and yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I hope you guys like it as much as we like creating it. So
Awesome. Well, again, Kevin, thank you so much for your time, and hope everything stays well with you. And you take care.
yeah, thank you, Cowabunga. Thanks, man.
Cowabunga!
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Take care.